Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to this webinar organized regarding the project Nautical Tourism Development and Promotion of Regional Ports. I'm Eneida and I have the honor to moderate this webinar today. We are honored to have a panel of experts and professional stakeholders with representatives from project partners such as National Coastline Agency, Ministry of Tourism in Albania. We need to mute. Okay, I'm muted. I was saying the project partners such as Ministry of Tourism in Albania, Municipality of Molfetta, Municipality of Termoli, Upi Puglia, Port Herceg Novi, and InSET Albania. Today we will have a virtual discussion about the overall objective of the project, Nautical Tourism Development and Promotion of Regional Ports, regarding the development of a common model for the smart and the sustainable nautical tourism management through an integrated development plan. Without wasting more time, we will move on with the panel. Today we are pleased to welcome the first panelist to open this webinar, Mrs. Klodiana Gorica from InSET. That will speak about marine tourism in the main content analysis and also making the opening remarks. Welcome, Claudie, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Eneida. Good morning, everybody. I am very pleased to open together with Eneida this webinar. What I would like to say is regards to the special moment which tourism is passing in all the world, especially in Albania, where everybody is going to talk about revitalizing and the tourism sector through new mechanism as nautical or marine tourism is. And the meeting like the webinar, the meeting with all stakeholders like today are very important and crucial to further develop the necessary cluster in order to create a new platform, new network, new project in order to be ready together as Balkan for future of our Europe and the future of our destination through sustainable development and especially through this alternative tourism product as nautical tourism is. I hope that we will enjoy the day and we will have a very active discussion within us. Thank you very much.
Klodiana, we can go on with the presentation. Meanwhile, yeah, with your topic about marine tourism in the main content analysis. Thank you.
It's okay?
It's fine.
Okay, you can see the. Okay. So, my discussion as Executive Director of Institute for Sustainable Development, Environment, Tourism, and Professor University. Okay. And external expert in this project, I would like to propose to have an overview, a context analysis of nautical tourism development and promotion of regional ports. Also, I have underlined some important issues related to maybe just to think about all of this, or maybe to push some discussion after my presentation related to our future common interest to collaborate together. As you know, InSET is working closely and I'm external expertise in this project, and we have a very huge international network related to UNWTO or International Tourism Institute, etc. We have organized the first conference in sustainable development managed and oriented by UN and building public-private partnership for sustainable tourism. And we have talked about these issues, but generally in sustainable tourism in 2017, when it was the 13th year of sustainable development. Since nautical tourism, or sometimes called marine tourism, is the future of sustainability. And since the tourism drives growth, especially in the regions which need more, as Europe is, I have included some issues related to the importance of tourism, the importance of tourism in Albania, and why the best idea to create sustainable tourism is not to work on the theory, but to work and create best practicals on sustainable tourism. And as far as all international practices, international experts are talking about this, they have concluded that marine tourism or other alternative sustainable tourism are the best practices which every country can create. The best is to co-create this value within the network. This is why in my beginning in the speech, I mentioned that these networks are the added value of creating a new concept of marine tourism in each of our countries. So my content is some words about nautical tourism, the possibilities to develop this, some concepts related to nautical tourism, some points on SWOT analysis, or nautical tourism as part of blue economy, and some conclusions that my advice is related to this. Of course, that Albania is, as a lot of Balkan countries that have a lot of potential for tourism development, and this will be a niche tourism product. Niche is a small, there are small products which create sustainability, create sustainable impact, which means create output, incomes, and generate new employments. This is why this product is considered sustainable. Also, the aim of this study, context analysis for nautical tourism, is to give a general context analysis for nautical plan in the main frame of a national blue economy, because the nautical plan is nautical tourism is part of blue economy, and we have to consider that blue economy is also a very special objective and principle of Albanian government for the future. So this is why this webinar also is another reason it is very hot, in the meaning that it is very discussed even in the public institution. Also, the overall scope, I have put here some specifics of this project, which has been in intention to give a very specific idea about the situation, potential, the obstacles that Albania has to on nautical tourism. And also the SWOT analysis will be divide all these points in 4 plans. And the specific word is a study for not only for the current condition, but to give some specific objectives in which Albania will go further in order to realize nautical and tourism in Albania. For example, for the moment, we have almost developed a lot of this sustainable product from the right side as nautical, not a massive sun and beach tourism, which based on the new theory is not anymore massive product, but it is if it can be managed as well, create the employment, create output, and increase the incoming for the local economy. So if we can manage well the massive sun and beach tourism, we can transform it in a sustainable tourism. This is very important in this context of nautical tourism, because nautical tourism means to combine in a very integrated way the massive sun and beach tourism with nature, with culture, to heritage, to adventure, to culinary, even to the business tourism. So nautical tourism can be a very important strategy for the future of Albanian economy, not even for tourism sector, because integrate all these products which are very important and very good developed and managed in Albania. So at the end, it concluded the idea, the concept of nautical tourism is a very sustainable alternative form from the 3 viewpoint of economic, social, and environment too. And we have some situation understanding what is nautical tourism in Albania. Sometimes it's called even water tourism. Sometimes it's called, but the best word to give the idea is marine tourism. So we can conclude a lot of benefits for partners and stakeholders to be this network, for a lot of improvement, creation of networking, engage of local communities, which is the best focus idea because the nautical tourism can create. And this nautical tourism can be also a guide or a strategy for tourism sector to improve tourism offer and product. Even is a kind of a marketing tools. So we can create common marketing plans for the future related to this. So the main concept we mentioned related to nautical tourism, even based on geographical, from climate, from planning, for strategic oriented, etc. I have to mention that nautical tourism is a tourism niche which that combines, are very important because they are not competitive with the large tourism product. It brings a lot of money to the country which develop this kind of tourism product as niches offers our nautical tourism. Also, some development vision and strategic goals are according to the fact that this product include a lot of other economic mechanisms, like it pushed the investment in human resource, the achievement of quality standards or standardization of the services, assessment of the location and building level achieved. So it is a community-based approach, which I will talk later, and some technical and technological conditions for sustainable development. So it is a strategic tools for the future, and it gives a new vision to the whole countries which develop nautical tourism. Also, there are a lot of problems, but there are a lot of opportunities that we have to consider this regard to strategic tourism planning. Also, innovating and entrepreneurship are two fundamental tools that are in the base of nautical tourism. And here I have include in this project several points as strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. This is a very important platform because we have to work on a weakness in order to transform on strength, and threats to transform on a weakness and later on opportunities. We have to consider that crises like this, as COVID, as we are passing now, or financial crisis, should consider international level a very important bundle or opportunities, because the most important sector or push in the economies are created where the crises are present. So in this is also in the very important moment we can work together in the form of clusters or in the form of network in order to work and to force strengths and also to work on threats and the weakness in order to best manage nautical tourism, which of course are very suited for the whole Albanian coastline. And in the presence of public institutions which can sustain us with the laws, with the strategy, we can further create or further develop a whole strategy and marketing plans or new platform to brand all this nautical tourism in the concept of the blue economy. We mentioned that it is a sustainable tourism product. Why it is sustainable, and what is important, it is the fact that it is a new or existing model. And why we call marine tourism or nautical tourism, because it's fit with the 5 important tools that UNWTO has created or has talked a lot related to the applying sustainable tourism in each country. And marine tourism is the best and perfect instrument to achieve this, because we create inclusive and sustainable economic growth, social inclusion, employment, and poverty reduction. So marine tourism as compared with all the product that Albania has developed is the best which can achieve or impact in the five important strategic tools that the UNWTO has created for the whole economy in the world. Also, we have some challenges which marine and nautical tourism has in the context of this context analysis. Like, for example, it is very good that it extends tourism season, but we have a lack of standardization and classification system. And in this, we have to work further in order to be ready for the new season. We have to work on the services. We have to work on the demand, not the infrastructure, but the knowledge, skills, capabilities in order to create a standardization of the services. We have to orient capital investment of tourism in those directions which are needed by the investment that this sector need. Also, we have to solve, it is our concern, but we cannot, the public institution, we have to solve the property problem issues. We have the lack of the national sectorial plan for marine tourism, and we have only priority to blue economy. And this is a very important, it is appeal for public institution. We have a lack of training that we have to work on this, so the workforce. So I think that the most challenges that nautical tourism has to face are related to the public, to the services, to the people, which is the fifth element of marketing. So we have the product, we have is the price, or to organize the delivering and to promote it, but we have to work in the fifth element of marketing. Also, we have weak use of IT, so digitalization, innovation on marine tourism, it is very important. Some legislation we have to work and to sustain private sector in order that all the private sector tour operator and hotels to orient in a good approach in marine tourism. Also, some other problems related to the nautical challenges that nautical tourism has to face is related to measurement. This is, in fact, a general problem, a pressure that international organizations are pushing in local economies like Albania or other countries, that we have to measure and we have to conclude based on qualitative studies in order to better orient the future maritime tourism in the best way. But these ways will be must be include community awareness and their inclusion in these projects. So we have to create a common offering tourism marine bundle. This is very important. And this COVID time consider as crisis, it's a very good moment to reorganize marketing, but in the new way. So we need to have a new platform, a new sustainable tourism model for nautical tourism, which need understanding what is nautical and searching what is looking for in order to organize, to manage nautical tourism, which are the main stakeholders which will take part, public and private one. What we are expecting from public institution in order to manage or to reorganize, to sustain private sector, in order to create cluster, to sustain our cluster or future networks. We have to identify which are the needs, lack, and possibilities to develop these bottom-up models. Do we have knowledge necessary? Do we have training? Do we need to have or identify which are the main lacks and on knowledge and capabilities? So this sustainable tourism model will be based on existing model, but will create a new value chain for maritime tourism. These both are very important for considering in the future related to maritime tourism. And we have identified the maritime tourism dimension are innovation. This is the best. Needs more co-creation with tourists, but best in IT. So IT-oriented and technology are very important to be mixed in all these dimensions. So it is based on innovation, it is based on a unique value proposition, should be focused in the customer, but not all the time, but not all into tourists, because I need to have a social inclusion approach in the community-based, in the networking, in a new public-private partnership, and not like those that we have on the public investment, because the private sector is the most important sector who gives put the money in this sector. So this is very important and crucial to be discussed in advance, that how we can create a public-private partnership in order to better orient this new approach of maritime tourism. This is why the clusters of the network are important, because from us should deliver, we will produce the main requests that we need from the public institution, from the ministry. And also the last important thing in the tourism dimension, maritime tourism dimension, is related to multiply marketing plan. So I mentioned that we need not to focus only the customer tourism, but we need to be yes, very occupied and concerned related to the people. So who are the people who will serve and work with the service for maritime tourism dimension? Who are the main stakeholders? Because we need plans and marketing plans for the people, for the stakeholders, investors, so for all the participants of value chain. And my advice for marine tourism implementing at the end is that marine tourism is not only hospitality, it's not only a simple product, it's not only an opportunity, but our goal is and will be not to provide the best service possible to our client, but not only client the tourism, rather than through maritime tourism development has 3 clients which are very important and make the tourism not a simple sector, but a huge and very important industry compared with all the other industry, who all must be satisfied. One, the blue tourists who wish to provide to the best memories and experience possible, the local population who wish to aid in wealth and good job creation, and lastly, the future. So we wish not to destroy our environment or the local future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Klodiana, for your professional presentation and advices regarding marine tourism. We are pleased to welcome Mr. Thomas Papadiotis, representing Municipality of Molfetta. He will be sharing with us thematic routes in North Puglia and their impacts in the territory. Mr. Papadiotis, the floor is all yours. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for the invitation. I hope everybody's doing very well, staying healthy in these weird times we're going through. I believe some introductions are in place while I share my screen. My name is Thomas Papadiotis. I'm an associate of the company supporting the Municipality of Molfetta and the implementation of the REGLPORTS project. And as such, my presentation will be mostly focused on the region of Puglia and the efforts in regards this area. Hopefully, you're seeing my screen and my presentation and hearing me at the same time. I'd like to believe. First, here you can see the social media pages of the REGLPORTS projects. We invite everybody who hasn't visited or hasn't had the touch with the project to, through their social media of choice, to see what it all is about, to see what the developments are, and why not share the project as well with other people that may be interested and expand this knowledge and this effort that we're all putting together. So as I said, I'm going to focus mostly on the area of Puglia, see what the outputs in regards to the project of the Municipality of Molfetta have been, focusing mostly on the aspect of the thematic routes and how this all ties together with the tools that are coming out of the project. So in more detail, we're gonna see some information overall about the region of Puglia and its tourism sector and nautical tourism sector. Some details about the regional economy. All that tied together gives us the opportunity to create a very detailed SWOT analysis that gives us a better estimation of what can be done. Then we'll go through some impacts of tourism in the region, ending up with the thematic routes that we've developed and how they tie with the outputs of the project overall. So the region of Puglia covers an area of about 20,000 square kilometers. It's located in the most southern eastern part of the Italian peninsula. For those who maybe don't know, it's practically what the area that forms that hill of the boot that is the Italian map. It's a coastal area. It's practically in a coastal area on all sides, and it's made up of 5 provinces, those of Foggia, Barletta, Adria, and Trani, Brindisi, Lecce, Taranto, and the metropolitan area of Bari. In terms of infrastructure, we could say that the region is very well equipped, as it can be approached, and it's very well accommodated by a huge railway network, which connects it to the rest of the country and by extension to the rest of Europe as well. There are 2 international airports, one in Bari and one in Brindisi, and a national airport in Foggia, and also there is a professional airport logistic platform in Taranto. As we said, it's an area circulated by sea from all sides. So there are 3 main ports in Bari, Brindisi, and Taranto, 6 smaller ports in Manfredonia, Barletta, Molfetta, Monopoli, Otranto, and Gallipoli. And there's many marinas and touristic ports spread around the region. Italy in general, in terms of the road networks, Italy in general is pretty much famous for its very efficient and very well-established road network. And the same stands for the region of Puglia as well. While it has a huge numbers of highways and very well-established road network that can be accommodated either by car or by bus and approach every area in the region. Going forward, seeing some tourism data, there are currently 52,000 active companies in the area, which account for the 38% of the total entrepreneurial activity. And in the tourism sector, there are 135,000 employees working, which represent the 15.4% of the total. In terms of the blue economy being everything that involves marine activities, that being from large-scale shipping to fisheries and coastal tourism activities. There are 7,000 approximately active companies, and almost half of them regard tourism. It's the 48.8%. Those are data established in 2018. With that in mind, it's important to say that there are 34,500 employees. Approximately 16,000 of them working in the coastal tourism, which again is almost half of that. All of that shows the importance that an area such as Puglia, with the specific characteristics it has, is a seaside area. It's an area with excellent climate, so it's obvious that tourism has a huge impact on the area, as well as the economy. We can see on the left here on this graph the development of the steady increase, we would say, on the tourism impact on the gross domestic product of the country. Probably if we had access to details for the last, for 2020-2021, obviously we would see a small decrease, but that would be the same everywhere in this time. Tourism in Puglia adds up for a 9 billion of added value, which is 13.6% of the gross domestic product, and 6.5 billion of final consumption expenditure, which represents 12% of the GDP of the Italian country. All that is to say that tourism already has and can have huge potential in the area. There's some more data, excuse me, there's some more data enhancing this idea. As we can see in a comparison between 2015 and 2019, there's been a pretty significant increase in pretty much all the indicators about the visitability of the area. And we see a huge rise, especially in the arrivals from abroad and the international overnight stays, where we can see a 60% and 43% rise in only 4 years, respectively. Also, what is important to see is it's interesting to see on this table on the right. We see the monthly breakdown of the arrivals in the region, both from national arrivals and from foreigners. And it's important because it highlights very well one of the weaknesses, we could say, of the area, that it has a very strong seasonality. That being especially prominent during the summer months, since with the climate and the seaside, there's definitely a huge spike of visitability during the summer months. In terms of distribution of the accommodation, again, there's been an increase lately in the accommodation, and that being hotels, bed and breakfasts, and everything that can offer an overnight stay. The highest percentages are located in the province of Foggia and Lecce, with the lowest one being in Taranto, that only holds the 8% of the accommodations of the region. All this data that we saw before gives us a rough idea of how we can approach SWOT analysis in order to highlight the strengths and weaknesses, the opportunities and threats that are derived and that can help in decision making on how to improve things moving forward, and on what to try to improve. I'm not going to read through all of that. We could just highlight some of these. For example, the strengths being that Puglia having a variety of things to offer, both in terms of traditional tourism and most modern forms of tourism. Also has a rich history, can accommodate different types of tourism. It can really invest on marketing other aspects, more or less traditional tourism aspects better. Taking some opportunities to expand practically the tourists that is inviting in the area. Obviously, there are tourism is an industry that creates impacts as everything else. Maybe they're not so prominent in the economical and financial aspects, because as an industry, tourism has generally a positive benefit on the economy, but mostly can have deterrent aspects on environmental impacts and social impacts. Starting with some economic impacts of tourism, as I said, it's mostly benefits. As we can all understand, there is an economic and monetary influx in the area from other areas, both from the rest of the country or even from abroad, thus having a huge impact in the gross domestic products, as we saw earlier, increased job openings, thus addressing to a certain extent an issue of unemployment that exists in the region of Puglia. On the other hand, some disadvantages in the economic aspects, we could say that are sort of more macroeconomic due to the inflation and the opportunity costs, as we will see more in detail here. So we see the direct contributions through commodities, industries, sources of spending that works as benefits, and add up to indirect contributions, such as, for example, European Union funds for the development of tourism, or the investing that goes into the area to support tourism services and structures. This all adds up to the positives. However, they are pressuring, on the other side, they are pressuring opportunity cost, inflations, and losses that may be generated. Tourism, however, has definitely more significant impact on the environmental side of things, something that is especially important in an area such as Puglia, which places very strong value on its natural aspects, and the quality of the landscape, the quality of the water, the quality of the marine environment, and so on and so forth. So with tourism, there are various risks such as natural resource exhaustion and pollution. There can be a lack of water resources, especially correlated to the seasonality during the very highly populated, strong summer months that we saw earlier. A lack of water resources can be a very common problem, as in the tourist season especially, water usage can reach 400 to 500 liters per day per person. And of course, there's a lot of pressure on other resources as well, such as energy, food, and other raw materials that may become lacking, once again, especially during the summer months. The same can be said for the marine environment quality, which is very important for the region. And that can be a risk due to development of marinas in inadequate places, the uncontrolled increase of number of anchorages and bays. As we saw earlier, there's already a pretty elevated number of mooring stations and berths. And once again, the high season peak, many seaside cities are invaded by anchor and moor boats, having something that has the potential to create problems both inland and to the marine environment, which brings us to the levels of pollution generated from the tourism, and something that we always have to keep in mind. Tourists, the unfortunate truth is that tourism can cause the same forms of pollution as any other industry, like air emissions, noise, solid waste, rubbish, and so on and so forth. That is especially true with solid waste and littering, where in areas with high concentration of tourism activities, improper disposal of waste can be a very common phenomenon. Thus, all this litter and waste ending up in river banks and eventually in the sea. That can have a deterrent effect, obviously, in the biodiversity of the area. And typical physical impacts include the degradation of the ecosystems, both inlands of the area and to the marine environment. All of that brings us to the thematic routes and explains very much how they were designed. As Puglia, as a region, is very rich in cultural assets, something that can be seen through the two UNESCO heritage sites that is accommodating. There's a plethora of festivals and cultural events. It's a very old and historical area, and that reflects also on the available sites to visit. There is a very rich tradition in handicrafts, such as the famous terracotta whistles of Rutigliano, the lace of Gargano, the ceramic products of Grottaglie, and obviously being part of Italy, which famously has one of the best cuisines and food in general in the world, has a very high quality enogastronomy in the area as well. So with all that in mind, we created a number of thematic routes. One of them being the one we named along the Adriatic, and it's the seaside route we suggest of sorts. It's comprised of 6 stops, and it runs along the coast of the Puglia region, starting from Giovinazzo to Margherita di Savoia. It's approximately 50 kilometers long, and it offers a number of suggestions in between to see and things to do and what to visit. The second one would be the one named Through History and Religion. And as you can easily understand, this is a thematic route focused on historical sites and religious sites, focusing on, we could say, on a more traditional type of visitor. It's comprised of 7 stops, starting from Molfetta and ending up in Ruvo di Puglia. And it's approximately 110 kilometers long. Once again, it covers a lot of areas, a lot of suggestions of things to do in between. And these are being used as propositions for a visitor to see and maybe choose what to visit and make a more informed choice. Another one, once again, of a different type. It's called the Stroll in the Park, and it's focused on the Alta Murgia National Park. It highlights all the points of interest of the national park. This route can be also done by car, but it is suggested that it's done either on foot, hiking, or it's an excellent ride by bike. Once again, it highlights all the necessary information on what is visitable in the Alta Murgia National Park and around it as well. And the last one focuses on the vineyards and delicacies of the area. This one is not a singular route, but it's mostly comprised of different smaller, let's say, thematic routes that create suggestions on places with interesting foods, with local and traditional products that a visitor that is interested could visit. Now, all of that, the point of all of that is to have a unified reference point, and that will be the GIS, the REGLPORTS GIS map. All of the thematic routes that we saw and were presented will be unified here. So there's going to be a one stop for a visitor, let's say, to see all the necessary information, to select a place and see pictures, how to get there. And it offers a very fast and easy way to make choices for somebody who is visiting the area. Another very important tool that comes out of the REGLPORTS project is the information destination system, which once again will draw information from all the aforementioned efforts and will create a database mostly for those approaching the area by sea. Will create a huge database of information in regards to the list of mooring locations, their characteristics, their names, how to approach them, what do they offer in terms of infrastructure, if there is internet, if there's a tourist information service on every mooring station. It will offer the opportunity, the potential of online communication with the stations, and make bookings, control the parking availability for a boat or a yacht. And once again, it will create a unified application that will hold all the information that somebody visiting will ever need. These are some screenshots of the information destination system. As we can see here on the right, we'll have both a list of the mooring stations that one can choose and select and see all the necessary information. But on the other hand, as we see on the left, it will have a very refined search engine where the user will be able to input the details of his liking and thus create a very tailored result. Thank you for your attention. Hope that everything was of interest and it wasn't very long at the same time. And I invite everybody to visit the social media links and the site of the project to see all this information practically in even more detail.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas. It is always great to have more knowledge about tourism in the wonderful Puglia. It was a very informative presentation. Okay, here with us today is Mr. Cloridano Bellocchio from the Municipality of Termoli. He will be sharing with us destination Molise among routes, islands, villages and pass. La presentazione sarà in italiano. Tutti gli albanesi capiscono l'italiano, così che non sarà un problema per questo. Signor Bellocchio, tocca a voi a fare la presentazione.
Ok, mi sentite?
Se hai un problema con il share screen, dimmelo.
Mi pare che... eccolo qua.
Ok, perfetto.
Ok. Allora, buongiorno, chiedo scusa a tutti, io non riesco, conosco bene l'argomento, ma non riesco a dirlo in inglese e quindi spero che voi mi capiate in italiano, non so se è utile, infatti mi stavo chiedendo se era il caso di mandare solo una relazione. Vabbè, allora, intanto... diciamo che il nostro progetto è stato costruito tenendo conto del fatto che noi possiamo sfruttare un entroterra del Molise che non è, diciamo che di solito non viene sfruttato perché il nostro turismo è un turismo estivo che si rivolge prevalentemente alla costa. Quindi il nostro progetto ha seguito questa logica, cioè come collegare i porti turistici, nel Molise ne abbiamo 2 ben funzionanti e poi un terzo che sta per entrare in funzione, con le aree interne che consentono, diciamo, diverse possibilità. Ora, tenete conto che noi, vabbè, tralascio il tema di come ci siamo arrivati con l'analisi SWOT, con i vari studi che abbiamo fatto sulle varie opportunità che ci sono, però diciamo noi siamo riusciti dopo uno studio attento di tutto il territorio ad individuare degli itinerari che sono stati costruiti proprio per il turismo da diporto, ma che potrebbe essere però utilizzato anche da un turismo, diciamo, che ama l'esperienza, ama il contatto con il territorio, dove il territorio stesso e le sue culture entrano nel gioco, diciamo, dell'offerta turistica. Quindi in questo caso noi abbiamo costruito dei nostri itinerari su 4 tematismi di fondo: quello archeologico religioso, quello naturalistico, quello enogastronomico e quello culturale, cercando di mettere insieme il sistema Molise, perché voi sapete che è una piccolissima regione, e ogni itinerario può essere percorso in auto con 35-40 minuti, se con le piste ciclabili siamo nell'ordine di 2-3 ore per ogni itinerario, e poi un giorno se addirittura si possono fare degli itinerari a piedi utilizzando una rete di tratturi di queste antiche vie che attraversano, diciamo, il Molise e non solo, portano persino fino alla Puglia. Quindi alla fine noi abbiamo preso 5 itinerari tematici, che sono queste che vi faccio vedere adesso, che collegato con la costa poi, come vedete, entrano nel Molise, e ne sono 5, che sono l'itinerario del mare, che è questo, quello della montagna, che è questo qui, poi quello urbano centrale, che è questo qui, quello delle tradizioni, che incominciano ad essere, adesso ve le faccio vedere uno per volta, e poi quello dell'arte e cultura. In poche parole, con questi itinerari noi siamo riusciti a creare 4 poli di interesse, e che potrebbero, se sviluppate, come dire, fare un turismo in tutte le stagioni, l'estate, l'autunno, la primavera e l'inverno, secondo diciamo, questi poli di interesse che, insomma, in un'offerta turistica organizzata potrebbero far sì che ci potrebbe essere un turismo non più di tipo stagionale, ma che potrebbe destagionalizzarsi, però se ben organizzato. Questi itinerari sono stati costruiti tenendo conto anche diciamo dei corridoi ecologici, perché c'è una parte degli itinerari che si sviluppa, che utilizza l'interesse naturalistico, che nel Molise è ancora abbastanza rilevante. Come vedete, diventa un reticolo disposto in modo tale da poter poi attraversare l'intera regione. Di questi itinerari adesso vi descriverò in questo modo vi descriverò una per una. Intanto abbiamo l'itinerario più strettamente, quello chiamato blu, più strettamente legato al mare, che partendo dalla costa, come vedete, sono stati organizzati, descritti con tutte le caratteristiche che ogni itinerario ha, e che può essere che poi è stato messo anche nella versione digitale, è stato messo dentro un portale che voi stessi state implementando, che conoscete. E questo è l'itinerario che potrebbe portare anche nelle isole Tremiti che sono poste qui. Poi questo itinerario, diciamo, itinerario blu, l'abbiamo chiamato, itinerario blu, perché richiamiamo al mare, si articola quindi in questi 4 itinerari, in questi 5 sottoitinerari. Le isole e i trabocchi, che stanno lungo la costa sia molisana che abruzzese, i porti, le torri e le terrazze, le memorie transfrontaliere, perché abbiamo anche delle minoranze che da noi, minoranze albresce e croate, che potrebbero essere utilizzate come memorie transfrontaliere. Poi c'è un archeologico religioso che porta verso, diciamo, la parte migliore della nostra archeologia, e infine le tradizioni culturali. Sono state organizzate in 5, eccoli qua, in 5 itinerari. Poi abbiamo l'itinerario verde, che invece è l'itinerario della montagna. Come vedete, dove preso il Molise si può fare questa, anche qui ci sono delle località persino sciistiche organizzate, eccetera, che potrebbero essere, diciamo, sono state descritte e potrebbero essere utilizzate. In ogni caso i percorsi sono stati studiati, diciamo, in maniera dettagliata, che nel progetto vengono descritte e sono state messe nel portale pari pari. Poi c'era invece l'itinerario giallo, l'abbiamo chiamato, che è un itinerario, diciamo, urbano che attraversa il Molise medio, ok? Infine l'itinerario delle tradizioni, che invece va a finire, le migliori tradizioni che stanno nel Basso Molise sono descritte qui, quindi dove è possibile farlo, diciamo, ci sono tradizioni molto sentite, dove in primavera uno potrebbe partecipare, si chiamano le carresi, cioè tradizioni antiche del mondo rurale che possono essere diciamo, utilizzate per questo turismo che non finisce, diciamo, solo nella stagionalità. E così l'arte, cultura e tradizione pure, che, diciamo, abbiamo individuato in una parte del Molise alto, diciamo, dove è possibile vedere i resti molto importanti degli anfiteatri sanniti, eccetera, eccetera. Quindi anche qui sono stati descritti, e quindi nell'insieme noi è possibile pensare ad un Molise con questi 5 itinerari: 1, 2, 3, 4 e poi questo della costa, che è il quinto itinerario, che sono integrati l'un l'altro e che potrebbero garantire, se ben gestiti, diciamo, una destagionalizzazione che nel Molise non c'è, perché noi, a differenza della Puglia, il Molise deve costruirlo il suo turismo. C'ha un turismo estivo, ma che è morde e fuggi, dura 2 mesi, 2 mesi e mezzo e poi finisce lì. Invece ci sono tutte potenzialità inesplose che andrebbero invece integrate con questi possibili itinerari che noi abbiamo indicato. Ora, a questo punto, qual è il problema? Il problema è che la destinazione Molise ha bisogno di un modello di turismo integrato tra quello nautico e da diporto, già praticato nei porti molisani, però soltanto in parte e assolutamente limitato ad alcuni periodi dell'anno, con il turismo esperienziale che invece potrebbe durare tutto l'anno, puntando sulla cultura dei luoghi. E quindi superamento della stagionalità che caratterizza il negativo, il turismo tradizionale di massa, che tra l'altro è anche molto distruttivo e non è sostenibile. E quindi in questo modo innescare un impatto positivo sulle economie locali, sia sul versante costiero che sulle aree rurali più interne. Per fare questo occorre un network dedicato che potrebbe avere anche una dimensione internazionale, proprio magari partendo da questo partenariato, dai 4 porti interessati, perché è evidente noi potremmo beneficiare dell'esperienza, della grande esperienza che ha la Puglia, però potremmo mettere a disposizione un territorio per molti versi appetibile e anche molto attraente se organizzato. E quindi quello che manca è una rete di servizi e prodotti turistici che questo network dovrebbe organizzarlo, collegato con gli itinerari, che a questo punto devono poter vivere attraverso servizi e prodotti. Quindi organizzare un nuovo modello di promozione e di marketing, utilizzando anche in parte già il portale che stiamo implementando proprio dentro REGLPORTS, definire questo nuovo modello, diciamo, di turismo sostenibile ed elaborare una nuova narrazione, cioè un nuovo racconto di questa cosa di cui il Molise avrebbe, diciamo, molto bisogno. Quindi noi, diciamo, dentro REGLPORTS pensiamo che non debba finire qui, ma debba poter continuare ad esistere e ad implementarsi ulteriormente, magari dedicando un altro progetto proprio all'organizzazione di un network per la gestione di quel lavoro che abbiamo già fatto. In questo modo il turismo potrebbe diventare un'attività molto interessante per un paese come il Molise e anche per tutto diciamo, l'Adriatico in generale, che sappiamo che è un luogo che sarà destinato negli anni a crescere sempre di più, perché è un posto molto attraente, fatto di una varietà di siti, di luoghi che possono interagire l'un l'altro, e in fondo si tratta di un piccolo spazio. Per cui io spero che questa esperienza possa dedicare proprio cercando di costruire questo network per la gestione, altrimenti io penso che il rischio è che saranno degli ulteriori altri itinerari che però, abbandonati soltanto all'iniziativa privata, forse rischiano di rimanere un po' lettera morta. Grazie.
Grazie a voi. Ok, grazie per la presentazione. The last panelist is Mrs. Bora Boraj from CEDIR that will be sharing with us tourism plan and routes. Welcome, Bora.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I hope that you are good, since we are going through a difficult situation with COVID. Now I'm sharing my screen, so we go to the presentation. Okay, so here is the main points that I will discuss during this presentation, which include main tourism concepts related to nautical tourism, strategic tourism planning, some analysis about REGLPORT thematic routes, some promotion of traditional villages and other types of tourism, and some conclusions. So why it's important, this study? It's important in the framework of the project because there are some problems in the tourism development, which include lack of development of this kind of tourism and other forms of tourism too. So the main aim of this study is to envisage a plan to constitute an innovative approach in tourism industry, which would be impossible to be tackled by countries one by one. And that's why it's important to have this cross-border cooperation. There will be some benefits for partners and stakeholders, like improvement and enhancement of tourism planning in the municipalities, which are part of the project. Also, there will be some bettering tourism activities that will improve port and marinas activities. There will be some guide for tourism sector to improve tourism offer and product. Also, some creation of networking among cultural and historical heritage and natural landscapes between countries that are participating in this project. Some main tourism concepts that are related to nautical tourism that we need to explain in order for you to better understand what we are talking about. First, we will talk about nautical tourism, also sustainable development and relation to nautical tourism. So why it's important, this nautical tourism, and how it can help us to improve not only the daily life, but also economy and reduce poverty. Also, some types of alternative tourism like heritage tourism, adventure tourism, cultural tourism, historical tourism, and so on. Nautical tourism includes marine environment that has always been part of human life. It includes all recreational activities that involve travel from one place of residence to another while using marine environment waters. As a branch of tourism, nautical tourism is a compound touristic and maritime activity with a complex definition, since it includes a lot of types of tourism, including sunbathing tourism, including scuba diving, snorkeling, and so on. Nautical tourism is a subsystem in the economic branch of the maritime economy and tourism within overall economy. And that's why it's important for us to find new ways to develop it so we increase the economic growth in general. Nautical tourism is a tourism niche that combines the whole of marine recreation activities in destination shores and ports by offering facilities and services for dry land tourists, cruisers, and yachtsmen. The importance, it's not limited only to to marine factors, but also to the cultural conditions, land facilities, and environment in the hosting marinas and lands, since there will be a lot of networking and cooperation between these areas. There have been many studies who show why this is important, and I will mention some of them in the previous slides. Nautical tourism is classified as follows: harbors of nautical tourism, which includes yachting, private yachting, and also yachting events, races, and so on. There are also marine parks, whale and dolphin watching, scuba diving, and so on. Another classification is cruising, which is a major player in marine tourism, which is growing rapidly nowadays. Some factors that have contributed in the development of this kind of tourism is the way that coastline is intended. Also, the number of well-arranged and sheltered ports, and of course, geographical position. Ports and marinas are an important infrastructure seen as a facility that contribute in the development of nautical tourism and of course in the growth of economy. In the port area, special attention is paid to nautical tourism development as a selective form of tourism, since it includes different kinds of tourism. Benefits for further development and planning, as it is one of the most propulsive kinds of recreational tourism. It contributes to the general development of economy by fostering growth and development through current activities and those related with them. We have horizontal, which includes diving tourism, photo safari, etc., as well as vertically, like handicraft, shipbuilding, and so on. Contribution in social aspect of nautical tourism includes transfer of information, knowledge, culture, and lifestyle. In this way, nautical tourism has a significant contribution as its foreign boats and yachts and their equipment attract domicile population, so promoting development of ideas, creativity, and free thinking. Also, there is multiplier effect, which contributes to a richer and more versatile quality of life, urbanization, and area planning. Countries that are planning to develop this kind of tourism should, of course, look at their advantages regarding resources and sea coast for the development of nautical tourism as compared with its direct competitors in the nautical market of the Mediterranean Sea. Sustainable development is one of the most important trends affecting tourism development, and the economy and Europe is paying great attention to this kind of development. Nautical tourism ports set up models and development plans to enable their efficiency not only in implementing their business process, but also within the environmental protection and protection of living quality standards. The importance of natural resources becomes main interest not only for this kind of ports, but for cruising too. The importance of destinations becomes more frequently sphere of interest of big cruise corporations. A new generation of middle and small cruisers, which with their growth conform to destination of a larger part of Mediterranean coast, and this is being developed. Importance of managing coastal natural resources, especially nautical tourism port, has been potentialized in the larger part of Mediterranean coast. Description of Albania as area under the study of nautical ports has some general advantages of the area. Development vision and mission of strategic goals, SWOT analysis, action plan, and nautical tourism development projection and expected effects. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you all for your presentations. Thank you, Bora. Thank you for all of you that you shared with us today the information in your presentations. Now it's time for questions. Does anyone from the audience or from the panel have any question regarding the panel discussion until now or the project itself?
Hello, Anita.
Thank you. Hello, Gentiana. So
How
we can
are
have this session in Albanian, in Italian, or in English. So you are free to go, because the audience, if I encourage, of course, the involvement of the audience, so they are free to use the language that they are more comfortable.
Yes, I understand. I am Gentiana Troplini from National Coastline Agency, just to be introduced. With most of panelists and other persons here, I have had contact during this time. So I really want to thank all of them for, especially the partners of the project, for all the job they have done during this time, considering here all the difficulties, let's say, during these years, especially 2020, and all the difficulties we faced with pandemic and etc. From all the panelists, I want to say that for Albania especially, I think this kind of projects and all the projects on touristic fields are very important, because we need to share experience between all of us, and the most important, we can learn from other partners who maybe are more or this developed, let's say, in touristic sectors than us. Regarding nautical tourism, Albania from 2020 has a specific law on nautical tourism activities, because as all panelists discussed before me, one of main problems, let's say, we face with this kind of touristic development and touristic sector is the lack of legislation. So also we have discussed during all the time for sustainable tourism. So not a tourism focused just on summer season and almost only in 3 months. So I think the most important question is how can we extend this tourism during all the year? Which is the solution? How can we combine all natural, cultural elements, traditions, in order to develop this kind of tourism? But most important also is how all these stakeholders that we discussed during all the time will, let's say, benefit from this kind of project, REGLPORTS project, etc., etc. Many studies are done, many experts have been engaged, but how will we use all this kind of information in order that each stakeholders can benefit from it? So to conclude, I think maybe the most important questions related also the discussions we have had before and different meetings between partners is how can the public sector support and collaborate with private sector in order to develop nautical tourism, because it's important to say that infrastructure is also an important element in order to have all the results we need and we have to take from this kind of projects.
Thank you, Gentiana. Në fakt, kjo mund t'ishte le të themi një pikë shumë e mirë diskutimi, ndoshta edhe për pjesën e audiencës, në qoftë se kemi pjesëmarrës nga sektori privat, nëse mund të iniciojë le të themi një diskutim i lirë, në qoftë se sektori privat mund të rendiste, po themi në një diskutim të hapur, kush mund të ishin cilat mund të ishin iniciativat më të mira në drejtim të zhvillimit të sektorit, por gjithmonë parë nga këndvështrimi i tyre. Nëse mund kemi një reagim nga publiku, nga audienca që kemi aktualisht online, do t'ishte perfekt. Mund ta kërkoj fjalën kushdo.
Kam përshtypjen se nga audienca nga Shqipëria është shumë në numër, duke qenë se ne kemi kohë që flasim për këtë projekt dhe është diskutuar pothuajse në gjithë bashkëpunëtorët ta në zonën bregdetare. Megjithatë, unë e thash dhe pak në fillim, mendoj se iniciativa për miratimin e ligjit për turizmin detar është padyshim një nga arritjet dhe themi më të mira, sepse Shqipëria është përballur në shumicën e rasteve me mungesën e legjislacionit në këtë sektor dhe më në fund ne kemi një ligj specifik për këtë sektor. Patjetër që le të themi sektori privat është ai që preket më tepër, sepse është ai që do të ndërhyjë direkt në gjitha këto zhvillimet që do të ketë në zonën bregdetare dhe mbi të gjitha çfarë përfitimesh do të sjellë turizmi detar dhe si do ta ndërthurim, si duhet të punoj sektori publik me sektorin privat për të ndërhyrë jo vetëm me studime, me mbështetje financiare, por dhe patjetër zhvillimet infrastrukturore. Nuk besoj se është e rëndësishme të themi që vija jonë bregdetare ka shumë për të ofruar, rreth 420 kilometra me një terren si pak vendet të tjera, por patjetër vetëm bashkëpunimi midis sektorit publik dhe privat do të sjellë efektet që gjithë ne kërkojmë.
Unë me qenë se sektori privat që është i pranishëm nuk po bën një koment, unë në emër të sektorit privat normalisht do doja bëja vetëm thjesht një ndërhyrje, jo thjesht kthim të përgjigjes. Po në mbështetjen të sektorit privat, unë besoj dhe gjykoj që sektori privat i turizmit është sektori i vetëm që në mos them ose ndër të paktën sektor që është dëmtuar shumë fort nga turizmi. Dhe është sektor nga kriza e Covidit dhe është i vetmi sektor i cili kërkon jo vetëm mbështetje me politika, me ligje, me strategji, të cilat sektori publik mund t'i bëjë dhe është i detyruar t'i bëjë, por edhe me element të tjerë letësues, me qëllim që të orientoj sa më mirë përmes letësimeve financiare, fiskale, apo me ligje sektorin privat nga detyrimet që ka, me qëllim që ai të mirë orientohet drejt kësaj forme që ne po flasim sot, të turizmit të marinave. Me qëllim që, sepse shikon, në turizëm, në teorinë e zhvillimit të qëndrueshëm thuhet që shteti nuk ka çfarë të bëjë, shteti bën politika, ligje, strategji. Shteti do të bëjë diçka në radhë të parë, do të dëgjojë sektorin privat. Sepse sektori privat është ai që është i specializuar. Sektori privat ka jetë të tërë që investon në turizëm, që pret nga turizmi, përfiton nga turizmi, i shpërndan të ardhurat e veta bashkë me komunitetin, që paguan taksat në shtet për turizmin. Ai sektori privat është sot që është në nevojë, ka nevojë të mbështetet, të ndihmohet, jo vetëm me taksa, jo vetëm me politika, po si ne dhe si platforma të përbashkëta, dhe ky është partneriteti, mund ta ndihmojmë dhe ta mbështesim sektorin privat që ai tashmë të investoj edhe në turizmin nautik, duke i bërë me dije, sigurisht e di më mirë se ne, përfitimet që ka nga kjo lloj forme turizmi. Pra thjesht ta mbështesi dhe ta lehtësoj. Shumë thjesht është. Thjesht të shikojmë që çfarë bëjnë vendet më të mira që kanë turizëm të zhvilluar, sepse kanë sektorin privat i cili mbështet, lehtëson, dhe në fundit është shteti ai që është interesuar ta bëjë këtë gjë, sepse impakti që pasaj që vjen nga turizmi është shumë herë më i madh. vetëm nga shpenzimet jo direkte, po indirekte, impakti indirekt që ka një turist në bujqësi, blegtori, në kulturë, në edukim, në fundit ai që përfiton nuk është përsëri nga kjo mbështetje e sektorit privat, por sektori publik. Pra shteti do të investoj pak që të marrë shumë nesër, po përmes sektorit publik. Dhe kjo është pak a shumë, kjo është politika më e mirë. Mbështetje sot me qëllim që të ardhura që sjell nesër përsëri në buxhetin e shtetit. Pjesa që turizmi do zënë në GDP kombëtare do jetë shumë herë më e madhe nëse ky shtet e ndihmon sot sektorin privat.
Faleminderit shumë Klodiana, Gentiana e gjithë panelit. Duke qenë se nuk kemi pyetjet më tejshme dhe duke shpresuar që do të shihemi në seri të tjera të webinareve, le të themi konstruktiv, ku ndajmë eksperjenca ashtu siç ndam edhe me pjesën tjetër të partnerëve evropian, duke marrë shembuj dhe duke u përpjekur që të shohim përtej kufive tan, duke shpresuar që do të kemi sërish të tilla organizime. Ju përshëndes të gjithëve dhe ju falenderoj.
Faleminderit.
Faleminderit.